Lady Colin, worrying news for the Queen in a hugely important year for her, isn't it?
Well, I hope that it's going to get the message across to people that the Queen is a human being, and being a human being who is 2 months short of 96, she's frail, and does she really need to have all of the world's manure dumped on her doorstep the way she's been having it recently? So I would hope that those of us who have respect for the Queen as our beloved head of state will maybe people will get the message that now's the time for a bit more appreciation and a little bit less sexualization and abuse.
Yeah, I mean, Lady Colin, do you agree with that? We had Daisy McAndrew on just before yourself, and she was saying actually she thinks that this is going to create a political headache for the government, because a lot of people will be saying, well, hang on a minute, how can we lift COVID restrictions at a time when our monarch has now caught the virus?
Well, I'm awfully sorry. With due respect, I think the lady's chatting utter rubbish. The fact of the matter is that I know many people who have had COVID, who are one who's 96 years old. The Queen isn't 96 quite yet, and he was perfectly okay. I think we should listen to the doctor who discovered this variant, Omicron, the South African doctor, who said that she thought it would be in the world's interest that as many people as possible caught it. And, you know, we really need to understand at some point that the government's duty is not to protect us against health. It is to protect us against corruption and against wrongdoing. You know, the government, the Omicron is a perfectly standard form of flu. It's not even a very strong form of flu. Are we going to have the pusillanimous little creatures that want to deprive us of our civil liberties keeping on preaching to us and telling us that the world needs to shut down and that the government's duty is to protect us against catching a variation of flu that is not going to harm most of us? And if the Queen dies, and I have to tell you, I hope she lives a long and healthy life, but you know, she is 95.
On that point, Lady Colin, on that point, do you think that Her Majesty the Queen, the statement from the palace saying actually the Queen will be getting on with lighter duties, that keep calm and carry on spirit, that she's certainly, I think, given the nation since she was a mechanic in the war to this point now, do you think that message of I will be getting on even though I have coronavirus is actually what the nation needs to hear, right? That we can learn to live with this virus?
Absolutely, absolutely. We need to start to show a bit of stoicism, and she is showing the British people that we need to get back in touch with proper British virtues like stoicism, getting on with the business of living, doing your duty, and taking the consequences. You know, it was one thing when people thought that COVID might be like Ebola and would kill practically everybody. Now it has become apparent that, in fact, COVID is not like that, even at its most intense, and that the variants are now very mild. We need to get on with the business of living, and the Queen is showing us, and good for her, that we need to simply get on with the business of living and man up and woman up. You know, well, yeah. We don't need any more of this pusillanimity. It's just ridiculous, you know. At some point, people need to understand that the natural consequence of life is death, and that governments are not there to preserve us from all dangers, from real danger, yes, but from something that's not dangerous. I mean, give me a break, you know. We should be listening to what the Queen is saying. She is saying she's getting on with the business of reigning, and she is getting on with the business of trying to get better, and she's getting on with the business of being ill. and she is not making a fuss about it. We could do with a little bit less hysteria in this country at this point. And I have to tell you, I think that it does us as a nation and as individuals no good to succumb to cowardly hysteria.